So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Kaduku back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Wednesday, July 14th. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far and a good rest of their day. Yesterday, it is in fact Wednesday, July 14th here today, coming off of the All-Star Game last night. The American League won 5-2. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is your MVP for the American League, and not just the American League, but for the entire All-Star Game yesterday. All-Star Game MVP. He had a 460-something foot home run. Obviously, that got the American League on the board, and he just had a very good game. Went out, was really good. Had 2 RBIs, went 1 for 3, and he definitely was. He definitely went out and he did his job. And, obviously a very good game for him, very good game for American League. They win 5-2. And I got to tell you, I thought it was a good All-Star game. I thought it was a very good All-Star game. I thought there was, I thought the energy was there. I thought, sitting there watching all the players and stuff. And I actually, too, with all the different faces, I feel like it was a little bit of a refresher. I know a lot of people were kind of a little, worried about what it was going to be like with all these first-time All-Stars, because there was so many first-time All-Stars. I believe they said there was like 40 players that have been first-time All-Stars in the All-Star Game or something like that. There was so many first-time All-Stars, and that's one of the things that I was a little worried about. I was like, all right, is this guy really good, or is this guy like eh? And I thought that the competition was good. I thought that it was still exciting. I thought, even the guys that have been first-time All-Stars and maybe the guys that haven't grown big names for themselves, like, Brian Reynolds and Adam Frazier's having a big year, right? You look at those guys and you're like, all right, that's great, but how do they match up to the Tatises, the Guerreros, all those guys? And I thought it was good. I definitely think going into that, the American League with Vlad Guerrero, Bogarts, Judge, you had Ohtani on the mound and you have Ohtani hitting. Definitely thought the American League had a little bit of the advantage. Also, the National League was missing some key guys. They were without DeGrom. Betts didn't play, although that doesn't, Betts has struggled this season, but still without his defense. So I did say the American League were going to win, which I guess I can give myself a little pat on the back, although it is the All-Star Game. It's not like I predicted the World Series, to be correct here. But I thought it was good. I thought it was exciting. And, definitely agree with Vlad Guerrero Jr. getting the MVP. I mean, it was 5-2. It wasn't anything crazy. It was not like a 10-8 game with 3-4 home runs and so one player gets like 5 RBIs. No, it was nothing. It was no high-scoring game. The American League got 5 runs in the first 6 innings, and that was it. Bullpen shut it down. The next 3 innings were scoreless. 6th, 7th, 8th, or 7th, 8th, and 9th were scoreless, and the American League win the game. Both teams had errors, which is kind of surprising given it's the All-Star Game, but it shows you the best of the best even make errors. You're thinking, oh, wow, this game's going to have a lot of hits and not many errors. Well, guess what? There was an error. American League made an error. National League made an error. So definitely pretty crazy. And I'm not really crazy, but that just goes to show you how baseball is. Baseball is like that. Baseball, the best of the best make mistakes. The best of the best will make the errors, right? The guys that were on that field last night, those are the best players. All of them, those are the guys that are having the best season so far this year. And they even make errors, right? So it just goes to show you that even some of the best of them, will make errors, and no one's perfect. And obviously, definitely were some errors there as well. So I thought it was good, and we'll get to that starting up here. Suns Bucks tonight, Wednesday. Obviously, is tonight's game. So it's game 4 tonight. Big game for both teams. I've said it about 5 times in the past 2 days here. Big game for both teams tonight. The Bucks, I would consider this a must-win for the Bucks, because if you lose tonight, you go down 3-1. All of a sudden, Game 5 looks very bad. And even if you win Game 5, you got to find a way to win Game 6, and you got to find a way to win Game 7 back in Phoenix. I'm jumping a little bit ahead here, but you get where I'm going with this. And then same thing with the Suns. Because you cannot possibly 2-2 series, head back home with the Bucks, all the momentum, and if you lose at home, then you got to go back to Milwaukee, right? This is a big series for the. It's a big game for the Suns too, and also not just a big game for the Suns. I think next game would be considered the bigger game for the Suns, right? Because even if Milwaukee loses Game 5, they still have home field advantage in Game 6, home court advantage rather. So you could try to steal a game there and force a Game 7, right? I feel like right now, if the Bucks would win tonight, all of a sudden, it would look like they have a decent shot at making this thing real interesting. Because then they go back to Game 5 back in Phoenix. And even if they lose that game, you go back home, which right now, if they win tonight, that would mean they were 2-0 at home in the series. And boom, you could win there and enforce a Game 7. Right? That's what I was kind of thinking. And even if they lose tonight, it's not looking good. Because Phoenix just seems like they're a different team at home. And if you go 3-1, no matter who you're playing against, 3-1's not an easy series to come back from. You got a Game 5, Game 6, Game 7, you got to win them all. You got to win 3 straight games. I've always said it. Whenever the other team's got 3 wins and you have less than that, it's always hard because then you got to win. You can't lose. Even if it's a 3-2 series lead, got to win 2 straight games against the other team with Chris Paul, Devin Booker, all that stuff. So definitely a big game tonight. Should be an exciting game. We'll get to that. But these are the topics for today. We got the MLB All-Star Game recap. As always, or not as always, but obviously like I mentioned yesterday, I wanted to talk about the All-Star Game today. Judge was in it. Cole was in it. Chapman was there. Cole and Chapman did not pitch. Cole obviously decided not to pitch, or he wanted to pitch, but the Yankees decided not to let him, give him the rest, obviously after throwing 129 pitches. And Chapman was there. He did not pitch, though, either last night, which I'm not too surprised with. Kevin Cash, I don't think, was going to want to put in Chapman, who has struggled this season, or struggled recently. He was there, but Judge was up. Judge scored the first run of the All-Star Game. I'll get to his performance and stuff like that. We'll get into the entire All-Star Game, go through the numbers. Like I mentioned, it wasn't a high-scoring affair. I mean, it was 5-2, so 7 total runs scored. It wasn't like an 11-9 game or 11-10 game where it was home runs after home runs, singles, doubles, just balls getting launched. It wasn't anything like that. But it was 5-2, AL1, so I'll get into that. Then we'll get some football. I can't even tell you the last time I talked about football on this podcast. This has turned into a baseball and basketball and hockey podcast for the past couple weeks here, really for the past month. I'm trying to think the last time I got to a football topic, which is normal because during the football season, I don't talk much about the other sports. It's a lot of football. And during the baseball season and basketball season right now, and during the hockey offseason, hockey I haven't talked too much about since the Lightning won the Stanley Cup. But during the baseball season, I talk a lot about baseball. During the football season, talk a lot about football. So that's how it is. That's how it's always going to roll. Don't think I forgot about football. But there hasn't been many football stories, but also the fact that the season isn't on yet, and there's no reason to really talk all about it. But I did want to get to this story today. Marcus Maye and his contract update on the New York Jets. The New York Jets have looked like they're not going to sign Marcus Maye to a contract extension. The deadline is coming up here for a contract extension. So the Jets, supposedly what people call it, lowballed it. They did not offer him much money. They decided to kind of take the approach of, we're not going to go all out on one player. Let's see how he does this season under Salah's new defense, Salah's new scheme, and let's see what he does. And maybe next offseason, and I said this yesterday, if he has a good season this year like he did last season, and maybe make a Pro Bowl, because I thought last year he had Pro Bowl stats. If he has another good season, I would go ahead and say, next season, got to throw the bank at him, re-sign him. Because number one, by then he would be like a veteran in the locker room. He's been on the team here. And obviously he would show that he fits the scheme. So we'll get into that, get into the Jets, get into Marcus Maye. First football topic in a really long time. Then we'll finish it off with the New York Sports Update. As always, finish it off there. Suns, Bucks tonight. Other than that, not much on. No baseball on tonight. Suns, Bucks tonight. Game 5 or Game 4. I keep saying Game 5. I don't know why. Game 4 tonight. And yeah, I think that's it. Other than that, Yankees start up tomorrow, and the Mets will start up again on Friday. Rest of the MLB starts on Friday. Yankees and Red Sox will play tomorrow. I believe that's how it is. So, Yankees, Judge, Cole, Chapman, I'm sure going back to New York. I don't know if they left last night. I don't really know. That's something that's a different that's not really need to be, no, we don't really need to know all that. But, yeah, teams getting back together, and they're getting ready. Final day of the All-Star break. So, with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So, yes, last night was the 2021 Major League Baseball All-Star Game. And obviously on Monday night, you had the Home Run Derby with all the, Pete Alonso and Ohtani and Olsen and, Perez and all those guys and Soto and all those guys obviously showed their talents last night or Monday night with all the home runs and the Home Run Derby. Obviously Alonso taking home the crown, and last night it was the same thing except for all-around baseball. Last night, the best of the best showed their talent, showed off in the American, and I keep saying the American League All-Star Game because they won. In the MLB All-Star Game, as the American League defeated the National League 5-2. And, I believe this is the 8th straight year the American League has won. And, last night it was 10 of their last 11, so now it's, 11 of their last 12, whatever it is. But the American League has seemed to dominate this series the past couple years. Not just the past couple years, the past, 8 years here, they have been able to dominate this series. Now, it's kind of weird because I don't know if that means that the American League has been producing more talent, or if that just means the American League wins in these games. I mean, I don't really know. If you had 10 games against these teams, who would win more? Would the American League win 6 or 7 out of 10 times, or would the National League win? I mean, I feel like on both sides of the ball, there was a lot of talent. Tatis, Muncy, Arenado, Freeman, Castellanos. You had some of those guys in the National League, and you go to the American League side, and you got Ohtani, Judge, Bogarts, Devers, Simeon, Guerrero, right? You got some of those guys, and all right, the skill's about the same. But I thought last night it was good, and I actually enjoyed the game last night because it was a quick-paced game. There wasn't much, there wasn't a crazy amount of action, but there was enough action to really keep you to the screen. Although even if it's a 0-0 game, I'm watching a baseball game either way. But I thought that it was really, there was the talent was there, the players were there. I thought it was really good, and I know I say this a lot, but I thought for a lot of players opting out of the All-Star game, there was still a lot of, some nice plays. There were still some nice hits. I'm assuming if the NL maybe doesn't lose DeGrom and all them, I think there's a chance maybe they are better. They maybe win because you start off with DeGrom and, maybe DeGrom goes later in the game and stuff like that. But I thought it was good. And obviously the American League wins 5-2 with the big Vlad Guerrero Jr. home run. He went 1 for 3 yesterday with 2 RBIs. He's just something else. Vlad Guerrero Jr. is something else. And that's kind of how this game is. Right? We see this in all sports. Right? We see it where you have times where, currently right now in baseball, I feel like we're going through this phase where there's a lot of young talent, and the older talent's kind of starting to, go away a little bit, right? And there's always going to be older talent. There's always going to be veteran guys. But I feel like now we're just getting so many young stars that are coming up in this game. And I know Vlad Guerrero, this is, his 3rd year in the league. And I know it seems like he's been in the league for a little bit now. But I feel like in a way, this is like his rookie year. Because this is finally the Vlad Guerrero Jr. we all expected when he got called up. Right, this was the guy that we all expected when he got called up. Right, he had a little bit of weight issues. He was a little overweight. He slimmed down a lot this offseason. You could see he posted some workout videos. He was really getting slimmed down a lot this offseason, and he's much stronger. He's got much more muscle to him now, and, you could tell. Last night, that home run that he hit was launched. But in the Major League, in the MLB right now, there is so much young talent that's on display. And even if it doesn't have to be in your first year. It could be in your 2nd year, 3rd year, even your 4th year. But you look at all the young talent around the league, the Acuñas, the Tatises, the Sotos, the Guerreros, Ohtani's young talent. The Bichettes, he's young. Judge is getting up there, but even Judge, I feel like, has another 4 or 5 more years left of his prime. And you get into all the other guys, right? You get into the Teoscar Hernandez's, the Walshes, right? There's so much young talent. Adolis Garcia had a very good year this year. And then you go to the National League with obviously Tatis, and, you get to, Tatis and Soto, and although he wasn't there last night, Acuña obviously tore his ACL. He had a great season. Ozzy Albies. There's so much, and that's just a few. there's so much young talent in the major leagues, and I thought that was on display last night. And Vlad Guerrero Jr. is just something else. This is what we all expected when Vlad Guerrero Jr. got called up. We expected a guy to go out and hit 40, 45 home runs. Not every year, but go out and have a couple of those really big seasons. We expected him to crack 90, 100, 110 RBIs. And he's already got 73 RBIs this season, which is first. He's already got 73 RBIs this season. And I believe that last night we saw the two MVP finalists. Shohei Ohtani, Vlad Guerrero Jr. And I guess you could probably say, I would personally would say Tatis is the third. The only thing with Tatis is he's missed a lot of games this year. He's been very good in the time he's played, but he's missed some games. But he's still been very good, and we saw his numbers last night. They showed it up on Fox. I always like Fox's baseball coverage. They showed it up there. His numbers have been great this season, but he's been a little more injured. And also, I think if you do compare seasons, Ohtani just does it all, and I'll get to Ohtani in a second. But Vlad Guerrero Jr. is just something else. I mean, he is. He's something else. And that home run last night, they slow-mo that. His swing is so natural. You know, the ball hit right on the sweet spot, and it was gone. I mean, his swing's just so natural. It's just something else. And, this is the guy that the Toronto Blue Jays were expecting to see when he came up. And it's taken some time, but that's how it is in the MLB. Right? When you get called up right away, it's going to take you some time. I mean, even Wander Franco, we're seeing him go through some growing pains right now. I mean, is he doing bad? No, I wouldn't say he was doing bad, but he's definitely going through some moments where he shows some highs, and he's going through some moments showing some lows. That's all a part of the game. You're going to have moments throughout your career. You could say that in any sport, but especially baseball, because it takes a long time to get up, and baseball is such a difficult sport, right? Hitting a baseball is one of the hardest things to do in all of sports. And I love football and all that. Nothing against football players. I would say hitting a baseball is a whole lot harder than catching a football. I would say that. Now, I'm not trying to start any controversy over, what sport's harder. I'm not saying any of that. But I believe that hitting a baseball might be one of the hardest things to do. I also think stopping a hockey puck is not an easy thing to do either. There's a lot of things out there that aren't easy. I think lacrosse is a very hard sport to play. I think there's a lot of sports out there that are very difficult. But I will tell you this. Baseball, it is not easy to stand up there and hit a 99-mile-an-hour fastball, which is why sometimes it takes a little bit to really get your groove in the MLB. Right? It takes a little bit. You're not just going to... You might see a guy come right out of the gate, but Vlad Guerrero Jr., he got off to a little bit of a slow start. Right? He finished off that 2019 season. You have the COVID season in 2020, where he wasn't terrible. He played every game, but he batted only .260, which is not what we all expect out of Vlad. And in this offseason, I think this was a big year for Vlad. Because his first 2 years, we can honestly say, was a little underwhelming. But I did say that I thought Vlad was doing a little too much. And then his first, this season was a little underwhelming for him. Last season, rather. This season's not underwhelming. If this season's underwhelming, then we all expect him to hit 500 and crank in 70 home runs. But this season has been something else. And I think he's been better, actually, than a lot of people even expected him to be. I really do believe that. I think he's been better than a lot of people expect him. Because he's putting up numbers that are just out of this world. I mean, the guy this season is batting .332 with a .430 on base percentage and a slugging of .655. His on base percentage is .430. That means he's getting on base 4 out of every 10 at bats. That's unreal. And he's hitting .332. And oh yeah, by the way, his home runs are up. He's got 73 RBIs. He's great in situational hitting. I know I named this the All-Star Game recap, but I just wanted to get out Vlad Guerrero Jr. out there. Because last night when he hit that home run, I'm saying, I have to talk about this tomorrow, meaning today, because he is just something else. He is. And night in and night out, there's a highlight. Oh, Vlad Guerrero Jr. does it again. Vlad Guerrero Jr. does it again. And oh, yeah, the other guy on the team that's not human. And I think this just goes to show you how crazy Ohtani is. Ohtani was in the home run derby Monday night. Last night, he got the win as the pitcher. He pitched 1 innings, no runs, no Ks, no walks. He got the win. He only pitched 1 inning. That's how the All-Star Game is. They switch through pitchers. He pitched 1 inning last night. He got the win. So, a guy who was in the home run derby Monday night was pitching and leading off last night and got the win as the pitcher. He did go 0 for 2 hitting, but he did not strike out. I believe he grounded out, And I don't know what he did his second at bat. I don't know what he did his second at bat. I watched the game. I just forget what he did his second at bat. I want to say he probably grounded out again or flew out. I'm not sure, though, because he didn't strike out. I'm not 100% sure, though, so don't quote me on whatever he did. But I know he did ground out his first at bat. But either way, he was in the home run derby on Monday night. And last night he was starting pitcher and he was leading off. And I found it funny because when Joe Buck, who I'm not a huge fan of, not going to get into it, but he was the announcer for Fox, him and Smoltz, and obviously Buck too was the PA announcer for the game. He was announcing all the players. It was funny. I'm like, that just goes to show you how crazy he is. He was in the home run derby Monday night rather, and he was in the home run derby Monday night, and then you look at last night and he's warming up, and they're like, oh, and the pitcher Shohei Ohtani and leading off. It's just crazy. Like, the pitcher is batting first in an All-Star game. It's just wild. It really is. And I don't even think I've fully taken in what he can do. But last night it was really crazy because you're sitting there watching him. You're like, this guy was just in the home run derby tonight, and now he's pitching. He's throwing 99 or whatever. I think he had a pitch that cracked 99. He's throwing 99 he's getting 99 on the gun. On the radar gun's radaring at 99, and he was in the home run derby last night. It's just unbelievable. And that's what I'm saying with the baseball right now. Like, there's so many young prospects, and they're all over the world. Like USA Baseball, there's a lot of great players. Right? You see all of them, like Trouts and all that. But you get to all around the world. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, like Ohtani and all them, you're getting a lot of prospects from all around the world, and they're dominating in the league. And that's really what's crazy. The save was Liam Hendricks. He went 1 inning, no earned, 1 Ks, no walks. Corbin Burns recorded the loss. He went 2 innings, 2 earned, 2 Ks, 1 walk. He walked Judge on 4 pitches. I believe Judge, his first 6 pitches he faced, I think, in the All-Star game were balls. I believe so. I think the first, 5-6 pitches, because I know he got walked on 4 pitches in his first at-bat. And then the second time he was up, I grounded out, but I believe it was or maybe it was 5 pitches and he swung, and it was another ball, and then he swung, and he foul ball. I don't know what it was I think he foul ball, then he ball. I don't know what it was, but Judge was it was so weird, they were pitching behind him, or pitching around him. Like Corbin Burns to a guy who does not walk many guys. He had 1 walk last night, his first batter. Now, it is his first batter, so you gotta lay a little rest there. It is his first batter. It is Aaron Judge, so he's not going to want to throw an 80-mile-an-hour slider right down the middle for Judge to take that thing 480 feet. But, I mean, it's the All-Star game, but he was not on. I mean, he was not on. He threw 4 pitches way out of the zone, not even close. The last pitch, I guess you can say, was kind of close, but even that was pretty outside of the zone. You had the box there on the screen. And then Judge obviously walked his first at-bat, grounded out his second at-bat. He did score a run. He scored the first run of the All-Star game. So that's pretty cool. I believe that was on the Devers hit. Devers had the hit. I believe it was an RBI, or was that the Simeon hit? I think that was the Simeon hit. Yeah. Devers had the one hit that moved Judge over to third. Whoops. So Devers had the one hit that moved Judge over to third, and then it was first and third, I believe, and then Simeon came up, got that, and then Judge came home. So Simeon got the first RBI of the game. Judge scored the first run. Just to go through here, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Vlad had 2 RBIs. Bogarts had an RBI. Simeon had an RBI. And Mike Zunino, who has a very big power-hitting catcher this season, he's only batting technically 201 here, but his batting isn't anything special this season. Going into last night's All-Star game, he was batting 198 because he's a very big power hitting catcher and he's good defensively. He hit a home run. So he hit a home run, he had an RBI, and that was your 5 RBIs. Marcus Simeon, Zunino, Guerrero had 2 RBIs, that's 4 runs, and Bogarts also had an RBI. Bogarts hit well. Bogarts went 2 for 3 with an RBI. He had a strikeout, but I feel like in a way Bogarts, if Vlad Guerrero Jr. doesn't hit that home run, I would say Bogarts is the runner-up for MVP. I mean, the guy had 2 hits, he got an RBI, he did have a strikeout, so I guess if he doesn't get that strikeout, he goes 3 for 3, bats 1,000 in the All-Star game and gets an RBI, now you got to definitely consider him there. And Guerrero, I knew it when Guerrero hit that home run. And the way the NL was going, the NL It didn't seem like they were going to hit anything crazy. It didn't seem like they were going to go out and launch a 500-foot home run. But once Guerrero hit that home run, I'm like, yeah, he's got to win the MVP. And I agree with him winning the MVP of the All-Star Game, too, because this is a guy who, I mean MVP of the All-Star Game, not overall. We got to see how the second half does, and then I'll predict my MVP for the season, for the AL. But, yeah, when he hit that home run, that thing was far. And I was surprised that I think it was 468 feet. I don't want to say only 468 feet, because only is not fair to say when it's 468 feet. That's so long home run. But when that thing cleared the bleach, that thing was almost in the concourse. That was up by the scoreboard. I thought that thing was going to be recorded at like 480, 490. I don't think it was going to crack 500, but off the bat and what they showed on TV, it looked longer than 468. But 468 is still crazy considering some of these guys get the ball out hitting a home run 330. All right, you get it out at Yankee Stadium, I believe right field is, 318. I'm not sure the exact dimensions. You could have got a home run over there at 330. He hit a home run 468 feet. So it's still a very long home run. But off the bat, it looked like it was going to be like 485. And I was like, you're just sitting there and you see it go all the way on the top row and you're just in awe. Like, this guy's insane. And like I said, and Shohei Ohtani, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Ohtani didn't get a hit. It's just still, I still find it crazy that even though he didn't get a hit, the fact that he was pitching and hitting is just unbelievable. And then you go to the National League, and, Tatis went 0 for 2. Tatis almost hit 2 home runs. His first at-bat hit off the end of the bat, went out to left field. And his second at-bat, I believe it was right center field. I believe Cedric Mullins got it, but it was not like dead center. Mullins was going a little to his left to right center field. He got that. I believe Cedric Mullins made the catch there. But I was watching the game, and I'm like, Tatis just missed 2 home runs. Like, if you watch the replays, they just hit off the end of the bat. The second one he hit wasn't really off the end of the bat. He just got under it. But the first one he hit, like, off the bat, if you're in the stadium, that sounds and looks like that's gone, but it flew out to the left fielder. But that first one he hit, that if he hits that, if he swings a little later on that ball's out, and that ball's going to be smoked. And that second one, too. Tatis, although he went 0 for 2, and if you look at the numbers, he's like, oh, he went 0 for 2, he didn't do it. Tatis was just like a half a second away from hitting 2 home runs. Tatis almost had 2 home runs. He really did. And if he has 2 home runs, that changes the complexion of the game. That changes, who wins MVP and all that. Machado had 1 for 1 with a run scored. Freddie Freeman 1 for 2. Castellanos went 0 for 2. Jesse Winker went 0 for 1 with a walk. Soto went 0 for 2 or not 0 for 2. He didn't get it. It doesn't count as a bat. He went 0 for 0 with 2 walks. Real Muto, he hit a home run. He went 1 for 2 with a run scored, an RBI, and a K. He hit a home run, right field home run, went Oppo with it. I forget who was pitching. I think it might have been, I'm trying to think. Let me go back here and see the AL pitching. I believe it might have been, I think it was Soto. Yeah, I think it was Soto from the, it was Soto. He let up a home run. From the, Soto from the Tigers, he pitched an inning, 1 earned, 1 hit, 1 run, 1 home run allowed. And yeah, in the NL here. The NL, though, there was 3 home runs last night. So, the NL, there was 3 home runs. So, definitely the NL allowed 2 home runs. Corbin Burns allowed a home run. Taijuan Walker allowed a home run. But, there was definitely, there wasn't anything, Zunino obviously hit a home run and Guerrero hit a home run. So, there definitely wasn't anything, like, crazy. It wasn't like there was 6 home runs in this game. But there was, I thought, enough to keep you excited in the game. And I was actually kind of glad that it was relatively, under control, that there wasn't home runs everywhere. That was the one concern going to Coors Field and the thin air there, that if you just get on the, you don't even have to have a perfect contact. If you just get on it, like Tatis' hit he got off the end of the bat, that thing was almost gone. And that's off the end of the bat. Like, that thing's on the sweet spot, that's gone. Now, in any other stadium, that might not look as far, but the thin air might have made that ball travel a little bit more, which is why I think off the bat it looked like that thing was gone. But you could tell by Tatis' reaction that thing wasn't gone. Go to the pitching in the American League. Shohei Ohtani got in there. Lance Lynn got in there. Carl Gibson got in there. Nathan Eovaldi got in there. Soto got in there. Chris Bassett got in there. Kittredge got in there. Barnes got in there. And Liam Hendricks got in there. He closed it out. Total for the pitching, the American League had 9 innings pitched, 8 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned run. They only allowed 1 earned run, 2 total, but one was earned. 4 walks, 3 strikeouts, and they allowed 1 home run. They threw a total of 141 pitches, and 87 of them were strikes. And, go to the National League pitching. They pitched 9 innings, allowed 9 hits, 5 runs, 3 of those runs were earned, 2 walks. They had 12 strikeouts, which is actually a lot, and 2 home runs. They pitched through 137 pitches, and 101 of them were strikes, so they only threw 36 balls. Corbin Burns had 2 Ks. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Scherzer had a K. Peralta had 3 Ks. He struck out the side in the 1 inning he pitched. I'll tell you what, Scherzer, he didn't make the All-Star game at first. He came in as a sub. I completely disagreed with him not making the All-Star game. He is something else. That's his specialty, is going out and pitching 1 inning in an All-Star game, striking out 1 or 2 and getting the job done. His night's done. That's got to be so much fun. I don't know if it's as fun being a pitcher, unless if you're Ohtani, because then you get to go up there and hit 1 or 2 more times. But Scherzer, he gets prepared. He's out there. That's his specialty. He goes out there, pitches 1 inning in the All-Star game, and that's it. Boom, my night's done. Now I could sit back and watch the rest of the 8 1/3 inning. That's how it is. But he's doing it for all the time. He threw 11 pitches, 7 of them were strikes. 1 inning, 1 K. No hits, no runs, no walks, no home runs allowed. That's his specialty. He's starting All-Star. That's his specialty. Starting All-Star games, getting out of the first inning, and boom, your night's done. I do wonder if they ever changed the All-Star game to where they allowed, less pitchers on the team and maybe, see if there could be pitchers that go longer distance. Because I feel like we always envision these matchups, right? This guy versus this pitcher, but we never get to see it because they only throw 1 inning. And if they play them in the regular season, there's not a guaranteed chance that pitcher's going to line up. I don't know, let's say Cole was pitching and Tatis was up. Tatis did lead off, but let's just say Tatis was batting 4th and Cole only threw 1 inning. I think a Cole-Tatis matchup would be super fun to watch. But if Cole only was to throw in 1 inning, or DeGrom versus, let's say Trout was in the lineup, or DeGrom versus Ohtani, or DeGrom versus Vlad Guerrero Jr., that would be exciting. Although we might see that in the Mets-Blue Jay series. But if they only throw 1 inning, you might not see that. Although Vlad Guerrero Jr. was batting 3rd, so he did get up in the 1st inning. He was batting 2nd, rather. Bogarts was batting 3rd. Judge was batting 4th. J.D. Martinez, Nelson Cruz, Matt Olson, Bo Bichette, Tim Anderson, Joey Gallo, Jose Ramirez, Joey Wendell, Whit Merrifield, Mike Zunino, Jared Walsh, and Dolis Garcia. Those were all the subs for the American League. They all got playing time. And for the National League, it was Brandon Crawford, Trey Turner, Justin Turner, Machado, Escobar, Cronenworth, Soto, Bryant, Navarez, Chris Taylor, and Ozzie Albies. So, that was pretty good there. That was kind of it for the All-Star game. American League won 5-2. American League had 9 hits, 1 error. 5 runs, 9 hits, 1 error. National League had 2 runs, 8 hits, 1 error. American League got a run in the second run in the 3rd. They scored a run in the 5th. Scored 2 runs in the 5th. So that was your 4 runs there. And then the National League added 1 in the bottom of the 5th. American League added a run in the 6th. That was 5-1. And then the National League added another run in the bottom of the 6th. That was 5-2. So the majority of the scoring out of the 5 of the 7 runs were scored within the 6th and 7th innings, or 5th and 6th innings, and 3 of the American League's 5 runs were scored in the 5th and 6th innings, and 2 of the National League's 2 runs are scored in the 5th and 6th innings, just to give you kind of some nerdy stats there. And other than that, 1st inning, 4th inning, 7th, 8th, and 9th were all scoreless. And total, there was 17 hits in the game, total of 7 runs, 17 hits, and 2 errors in the 2021 MLB All-Star Game. And the American League teams American League was on top. So that's what I got for that. It was an exciting All-Star game. Crazy that it's already over. And yeah, today, no baseball on today. Day off for everybody. That's what's kind of weird. Like I mentioned yesterday, it was the All-Star break. Yankees weren't on and stuff like that. And that's obviously, you still notice that. But, it wasn't even like there wasn't any baseball on. Because you had the Home Run Derby. You had the games on Sunday. It wasn't like there was any 3 days off before that. You had a game on Sunday. Or you have the games on Sunday. Then you have... Then you had the Home Run Derby Monday. Last night was the All-Star game. Today's the day off, and the Yankees return tomorrow. And even today, it's like we got basketball on. So that's how it is right now in sports. That's how it always was, and then obviously the whole virus and stuff made that harder to have sports on every night. But like even tonight, yeah, there's no baseball on, but there's still a basketball game on, and that's the Suns-Bucks tonight, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, so that's what I got for the All-Star game. Comment down below your thoughts on it. I thought it was good. I thought it was exciting. Everyone always talks about seeing, what if this guy played and this guy played and this guy played. Everyone always talks about that. But I truly believe last night you got the 3 front runners right now for MVP, along with, DeGrom, I think, has got to be in that conversation. He didn't pitch, but there was about 5-6 really good MVP candidates on last night. You had Soto, Guerrero. DeGrom was on the All-Star, was not there, but he was in Tatis as well. I mean, those are 2 guys from American, 2 guys from National League. So, but with all that being said, that will do it for the MLB All-Star Game recap. A good All-Star Game in the books. And coming up next here, we're going to get to some football. We have not talked a lot about football recently, or not much, but we're going to get to some football. We're going to talk about the New York Jets and Marcus Maye. And, the New York Jets and Marcus Maye, I guess you can kind of say, have reached a contract, whatever you want to call it. However you want to call it. And the New York Jets and Marcus Maye. Marcus Maye will play under the franchise tag for the 2021 season. That's the looks of it. And, we'll get into that coming up next. All right, so you welcome me back here up on the podcast here. Obviously, football season is getting closer and closer each day. Obviously, I believe I was saying the past couple days I've been saying it's July 23rd. Some of it, I think, starts July 23rd for some of the camps, but I think I got it mixed up. The Olympics, I got mixed up a little bit with training camp, so the Olympics actually start July 23rd, and the New York Jets training camp, I believe, starts July 27th. So we are still about 13 days away from that. We were 2 weeks out yesterday from that. And obviously, training camp starting up, that's obviously the sign of, preseason coming and all that stuff. So, you're getting, closer and little by little. You got the training camp, then you got your preseason games, then you got, obviously the week 1 practice week, and you got obviously the games, and then so on and so forth. But, I haven't talked about football in a little bit here. I can't even tell you the last time I actually talked about it. My last story talking about football might have been, I don't know if it was about the Jets. I don't know if it was about some contract. I don't know if it was about something, but it's been a little bit since I talked about football. And obviously that's how it is throughout the baseball season. I talk a lot more about baseball. Obviously this pod, I talk about 4 major sports. I talk about baseball, basketball, hockey, and football. Football, I talk, you know how I am. Football, I talk pretty much from week 1 all the way up into the Super Bowl. I'm talking about football pretty much almost every day. And, baseball, I don't talk as much throughout then until obviously off season, stuff like that. But I don't talk as much about baseball during football season. And during baseball season, I don't talk about as much about football. So right now, I did want to talk about this football story here that comes up. Like I said, I'm going to get to a lot of football stuff once training camp gets in the way. There's a couple other stories I want to get to. A couple other Jets stuff I want to get to as well. But Jets rumors, Marcus Maye's camp tables contract talks ahead of tag deadline. So obviously, the New York Jets and Marcus Maye came to agreement, but the New York Jets placed the franchise tag on Marcus Maye a couple months ago, and since then you can still sign him to a long-term deal. So we see some teams obviously sign some players to long-term deals. I know the Chicago Bears and Allen Robinson look like they're not going to agree on a long-term deal. Chris Godwin as well seems like they might be iffy on a long-term deal. That's still up in the air. And the New York Jets have been one of the other bigger teams here with Marcus Maye. Are they going to sign Marcus Maye to a long-term deal? And that's been one of the bigger questions this entire offseason is, are the Jets going to sign Marcus Maye? And I believe that the Jets were after the draft, after all the mini camps and stuff, and they finally got some downtime to really focus on that, really focus on getting Marcus Maye to stay on this team for years to come. But it looks like the New York Jets and Joe Douglas are going to take a little bit of a different route here and not sign him to a long-term deal. Now, we see this all the time. This is no surprise. We see all the time where players play under a franchise tag. They might have a really good deal, and then you just sign them in the offseason. This isn't like this is the only time the New York Jets can sign him to a contract extension. So I do want to make that clear with Jets fans. There are a lot of Jets fans out there that think this is like the only time they can sign him to a contract extension. That's false. That's not true. You can sign him to a contract extension next offseason. This is the deadline for this year. He has to play under the franchise tag for the rest of this season, right? The deadline was 2 days ago yesterday, so I believe the deadline's tomorrow or whatever to sign guys. So this is not like it's not like, oh, we didn't sign to an extension, he's going to be a free agent at the end of the season. He's still going to be a free agent, but honestly, at the end of the year, if he has another big year and maybe makes a Pro Bowl, you're talking about throwing the bank at him. You're talking about you have to keep him. And the Jets, I thought, had an excellent offseason. We got our quarterback. We had an excellent free agency, I thought. And I am with the Jets. I'm not easy on my sports teams, right? The Jets, I am very optimistic about after their offseason. And a lot of people with the Jets, they just keep on thinking about what was with this team, but we've got a lot of new management now. We got some new players and stuff like that. So many people are focused on last year's Jets team, not really focused on this year's Jets team. That's a different story for a different day. People don't understand how, a head coach is going to help a team. People still don't get that. But what I wanted to get into here with Marcus Maye was, obviously is a guy who I wanted to get signed. And you could go back to past podcasts. You go back to podcasts where I talked about Marcus Maye. This is a guy who I wanted signed really ever since the offseason came around and really ever since he started to want a new contract. I wanted Marcus Maye to be signed and be signed long-term. And I know a lot of people would tend to disagree with me. I know a lot of people would want him to be signed. Let's see how he does another year. And I get where that's coming from. I feel like the Jets fan base right now, it's one of these things where it's about like a 50-50. It's like 50% of people want Marcus Maye to stay and be here for a long term, and there's about 50% of people that let's see and let's wait it out and see if he has another big year this year, and how does he fare under Robert Saleh's type defense, him and Jeff Ulbrich, that new defensive scheme that they're bringing in, and that is one of the big questions, right? Because when you get a new coach and a new defensive coordinator, new coordinators, and offensively and defensive side of the football, right? There's different schemes, right? Very rarely do you see the same coach having the same exact scheme as the last coach. A lot of times you're not going to see that because they're not going to hire him, right? Adam Gaze's scheme did not work for the New York Jets. They're not going to hire a coach that runs the similar scheme. What they are going to do is they're going to hire a coach that they believe, that they trust his scheme, that they've seen that his scheme has worked in past years. And the New York Jets and Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas have made this clear from the start that they want players that are going to be able to fit the scheme, fit what they're trying to do, and going to be able to be guys who are going to be able to learn the playbook quickly and be able to really, I don't know how to really word this, but be able to really understand and, their attributes fit well in their scheme. And maybe at the current moment, the New York Jets don't really know if Marcus Maye is going to have the same success under this new scheme. Maybe they think he will, but maybe they want him, maybe they want to see. And that all makes sense for me, because I do understand where they're coming from. I get where they might want to take their time and not just full on go out and try to get Marcus Maye and sign him to his multi-year deal when it's his first year under a new defensive scheme. And he's been under some different defensive schemes throughout his career here. Like many Jets players have gone through a lot of different coaches and a lot of different coordinators because the Jets have been switching things up so often now because they haven't got it right. And it looks like finally now they've gotten it right. We'll see how it all plays out throughout the regular season. But in terms of Marcus Maye, I feel like the New York Jets are kind of playing this a little safe. And that's how Joe Douglas is as GM, and I have no issue with that. They're playing a little bit of safe. They're playing a little safe. They're kind of taking a step back. They're looking at the big picture and they're saying, hey, let's look at this. We got a ton of draft picks coming up and all that stuff. And you also got to look at that it is a new defense. It's a new defensive scheme. It's a new coach. It's a new game plan. Not that I don't know. I don't think it's so much that they don't believe Marcus Maye doesn't fit in that. I think it's more so that let's see if Marcus Maye has the success under this scheme as he did in years past under schemes like Bowles' and under Greg Williams' schemes and all that stuff. Let's see how he is now. And another thing, I know a lot of Jets fans might want to say this, which I tend to disagree, and I understand. We always talk about one-year wonders in sports. We talk about guys that have one amazing year and the rest of their career. That's kind of been a little bit how Marcus Maye has been throughout his career here. His first couple years were good. They weren't amazing. They weren't anything special. They weren't best defender on the team good. But they were solid. They were And then last season, he was definitely the best guy in that defense. I thought had numbers I thought he had very good numbers. Had a very good season. So you want to see, can he keep that up again this year? I think he can, and I'll tell you one reason only. Now that he's in his primary position at safety, and he's not trying to do stuff that Jamal Adams was the main safety. Marcus Maye was behind him. Marcus Maye's now getting more snaps, getting more opportunities, getting more time in zone coverage, getting more time, covering and all that stuff. Marcus Maye, without Jamal Adams, is so much better because he's getting more snaps, getting more opportunities. That's the main reason why I don't think he's going to be a one-year wonder. Because Jamal Adams is now gone. All of a sudden, Marcus Maye's coming around. Yeah, because he's getting more snaps. They're creating plays that helps him. They're creating plays that he feels comfortable in. And they're creating an environment on defense that Marcus Maye succeeds in. And that's why we drafted Marcus Maye. And I feel like all along when we drafted Marcus Maye, it was one of those things like, we drafted him, we knew he had the potential, the Jets were never really able to get him out there enough to show that potential. Last season, they finally, he showed his full potential of what he can do. And that's get interceptions, force fumbles, get tackles, really good open field tackling, help on the deep ball, coverage, zone coverage, whatever, man coverage. He could blitz if you need him to. He's not really that much of a blitzing safety. He's more of a zone safety. He's more of a guy that's going to stay back in coverage. That's why I feel like Marcus Maye isn't a one-year wonder. Because he's a guy that, now that Jamal Adams is gone, and now that this is finally his role at the safety position, now finally he's going to be able to show his full potential. And that's why I wanted the Jets to sign him to a long-term deal. And I don't see there's going to be any issues with him not fitting this scheme. Right? I believe the Jets run more of a 4-3 type defensive scheme. And I don't really know if the New York Jets, I don't know, because I feel like if the Jets knew that he wouldn't fit the scheme, I think you would have to say they would look to get rid of him. Am I right? Like, you're not going to keep him on a team if he's not going to be able to fit the scheme. I think he almost has to fit the scheme, or else you would probably try to get rid of him or try not to really play him that much. But I think the Jets are taking the safer approach, which is what Joe Douglas has done. Not overpay. Let's see what he does this season. Then we can reevaluate in the offseason. And like I said, am I angry that we didn't sign him? Not really. Would I wish we would have signed him? Yes, I wanted them to sign him. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things where at the end of this season, if he has another good year and he shows what he did last season and maybe even improves from last year, you have to throw the bank at him this offseason. I mean, that's got to be your main offseason priority. It can't be anything else. It's got to be Marcus Maye. If there's another guy with a contract dispute, focus on him later. If Marcus Maye has another big year going into next offseason, you have to throw the bank at him. You have to go all out and sign him again. Because safeties are big, secondary's big. The Jets have lacked secondary talent for a long time now. Really, since Darrelle Revis, we haven't had a guy to be that good at cornerback and that good overall in the secondary. I guess you could say Jamal Adams was our last really dominant guy in the secondary at safety position. Marcus Maye has had a very good year last season. If he becomes the same thing, if he does the same thing and he continues to contribute in that same way, all of a sudden you're like, we got to keep this guy. Because that's been one of the Jets' weaknesses is the secondary. And another thing is the Jets' secondary is very young. Marcus Maye's not old, but he's been in the league for a little bit now. I believe they drafted him, back in 2016? I could check here. He's not anything crazy old, but he's been around. He's 26. He's 28 years old. He got drafted in 2017. Round 2, pick 39 out of Florida. So it's not like he's anything old, but he's been around. He's been around in the league for a little bit here. He's 28 years old. This is his 4th season in the league. He's been around for a little bit. 4th, 5th season in the league. Right? He's experienced a lot. He's been around. He knows the game. So it's not like he's brand new. And that's another thing. Right? Once after this season, if he's another big year, you got to keep him. Because you got to continue to have him help build the secondary. Because the secondary is young. And I said this, out of the entire Jets, out of the entire roster, I'm not concerned about, for the first time in a long time, I'm really not concerned about the offense. Usually every year, we're going into it with concerns about the offense. I believe our offense is going to be solid this year. I believe we finally got it right on the offensive side of the football. I do. I'm not going to get into any of that. That's a different story, different day, but I do believe that. The defensive line, I think, is probably out of every position on the football field, I think, is our strength. And I believe the Jets have one of the better defensive lines out there. I'm not saying they're top 3, top 5, but I would consider them I'm not even saying they're going to be top. I'm not saying they have the best defensive line, but I'm just saying they have a very good defensive line. That's probably out of the entire Jets team. That's that. And the Jets purposely built up their defensive line because that's how they roll. They like to run a lot of blitzes and get to the quarterback quickly, which takes pressure off the secondary. And that's one of the things with the Jets, is that's why they also built a lot this offseason in the linebacking core, because the cornerbacks, they believe the way they run the defense, the cornerbacks aren't going to need to stay in coverage that long. That's the whole plan with the Jets, is to get to the quarterback. That's why we got Carl Lawson. He's a guy that could get to the quarterback. Right? Sacks. He doesn't get that many sacks, but you look at the other numbers, he quarterbacks pressures. He's up there in the league in quickest time getting quarterbacks. He gets off his block quickly, gets his hands in the quarterback faces. He disrupts a lot of plays. That's how the Jets are going to run their defense this year. They're going to run it off of relying on the defensive line to get pressure, which I'm perfectly fine with, because last season, Quinton Williams, JFM, and, now this season adding Carl Lawson, those are all guys that could get pressure very quickly. JFM, John Franklin Myers, right? Those are all guys that can get pressure very quickly, and we saw that last season. For Alonso Fatukasi up there in nose tackle, if they're going to run the ball, he's a stuffer there. He could also cause chaos. If you're trying to double team somebody, you're going to have to focus on him. Linebacking core, I think the linebacking core has a lot of potential. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how Mosley returns. We'll see what Gerard Davis does. Supposedly what people say, Davis looks very well in the scheme, very good in the scheme. They're trying to get Davis back to the player that he once was. I believe he's a first-round draft pick by the Lions. He has not had that. He's not lived up to expectations. The Jets believe that the reason he has not lived up to expectations was because he was not in the right scheme. We'll see how all that plays out. I feel like the linebacking core is still a question mark, because I do believe Mosley's going to be good. Is he going to be as good as he once was? We'll see. Is he going to be anywhere close to that? We'll see. He got injured, obviously, in 2019 Week 1, missed the rest of that year, opted out last season due to COVID concerns, and that's it. So he's only played one game for the New York Jets, and that's pretty much it. 1 game and a half a game. He's played like 1.5 games for the New York Jets, and that's it in 2 years. So we'll see what he does. Supposedly they say he looks good, but the Jets aren't going to say it. Every team's going to say stuff. And we'll see how he does. I'm just taking it by position by position here. Now we finally get to the secondary. Secondary out of the entire team is my biggest concern, is the secondary. I know a lot of people might say, you should be worried about the receiving core. I'm actually not. For the first time in a long time, I'm actually not receiving. Last season, I was worried about the receiving core. I was worried about guys staying healthy and guys being able to be good, and sure enough, the receiving core was a concern. I'm not concerned about the receiving core or the offensive line. Last season, the offensive line, I got to admit, I wasn't as concerned, but there was still that little feeling like it's a work in progress. This season, I'm not concerned at all about the offensive line. I believe we're going to have a fine offensive line. What I really am concerned with is the secondary. That's the only thing, because it's young. And I believe there might not be a guy on that secondary that's over something and like 20 years old. They're 20. They're all 20s, obviously. But there's not a guy in that cornerback that's like crazy old or anything, like a veteran. Bryce Hall, Lamar Jackson, Bless Austin, they're all very young. Bryce Hall in his second season. Lamar Jackson, second season. Bless Austin, I believe this is his third season. Like, this is crazy. Like, our secondary is extremely young. That's why I want the Jets to go out and try to get a Steven Nelson, try to go out and get a Richard Sherman, because we need a veteran. We need someone to help the guys. That's my thing. Safety right now isn't a concern. Now, come off season, if Marcus Maye decides to go somewhere else, all of a sudden you have a hole at safety, but that's that. We'll focus on that when that comes, right? The season hasn't even started yet. Safety right now, I feel is fine. Linebacking, secondary, I feel like is linebacker core. I'm not concerned, but it's a work in progress. Secondary is my biggest thing. Secondary, you just got to watch out. And safety's fine. It'd be interesting to see if Marcus Maye plays a little any harder this season, given that he's going to be playing off the franchise tag, trying to show not just the Jets but maybe other teams out there that he does deserve the money. Trying to think, right? Quarterback, Wilson, we'll see what he does. I believe he's going to be good. He's going to, this is his first season, so he's still going to build with his receivers, and we'll see that throughout training camp. Running back's just up in the air. Like, who's gonna be next to Wilson week 1? That's the big question. Is it gonna be Michael Carter? Is it gonna be Tevin Coleman? Is it gonna be one of the younger? Is it gonna be Josh Adams? Is it gonna be Ty Johnson? Who's gonna be starting week 1? That's, I think, might be the Jets' actually biggest question. Right now, they say Tevin Coleman, but if Michael Carter continues to show out and show up, and him and Zach Wilson continue to build chemistry, Wilson might prefer Wilson might prefer Michael Carter out there in the backfield. That's also a question. So, there's definitely some questions on the roster. They're not bad questions, but it's just like, who's going to start? That's a question there. I think that will be decided training camp. If you're going to personally want my opinion on that, I would personally say running back's going to be decided by training camp. Personally, if you're going to ask me. I could be wrong. I'm not an expert, but I would personally say if there's going to be a time where running back's going to be solved for the New York Jets, it's probably going to be training camp. Because that's the time where you're really going to be able to see the rookies, and you're going to start to really get some scrimmages and start to see guys take hits and see guys in certain situations, outside runs, inside runs, on options, all that stuff. So we'll see. I will tell you this, the Jets, the one thing they have with the running back is all those guys can have a receiving ability. Tevin Coleman's really good out of the backfield receiving. Michael Carter showed that not only in North Carolina, but he's shown that early here with mini camps and rookie OTAs and stuff. He's shown that he can get out of the backfield. So I feel like the Jets this season, I feel like we might utilize our running backs a lot, but in a different way. I feel like we might utilize our running backs a lot in a way of little short passes and trying to get them upfield. That's how I personally see it. But that's just my opinion on it. That's my opinion. But I do believe, the defensive line, I think out of all the positions, that's going to be our best asset. And last season, it was our best. The Jets, the past 2 years here, have had a top 5 run defense. So the defensive line has been the strength of this team. And it continues to be a strength that we only add on. But I know I kind of tailed off with the Marcus Maye talk here a little bit and kind of talked about the whole team, but it's the truth. Right? If Marcus Maye is a big season here, because the Jets have talked about this so many times. You've talked about it as many times. If you're a scheme fit, if you can learn the playbook, if you can do all that, you're going to play. You're going to get playing time. You're going to be on the team. But if you struggle in the scheme, if you don't fit the scheme, I'm sorry. Not going to work for you. And that's maybe where the Jets are going with Marcus Maye right now. The Jets might be going in with the mindset of, okay, all right, let's see what he does under the new defense. And if he does well, if he does like he does last season, plays like he does last season, maybe even better, you sign him. If he struggles this year, I don't think you sign him. If he has the same year as last year or better, that's where I think you sign him. We'll see what his ceiling is. What is his ceiling? Did he hit his ceiling last season? Can he go even higher? Can he be even better? We'll see. This is obviously, a guy who I definitely think wants a big deal, and I think if the Jets just offer him the right deal, I think he'll get it done. So that's why I'm not really concerned. I genuinely think if he has a good year this year, if the Jets offer him the right deal in the offseason, he's going to sign back. I'm not really concerned that he's not going to sign back and stuff. I mean, it all depends on what the Jets do. Jets control this. Right? I've said that the Jets are going to control this. That's how I see it. The Jets are going to control this. Jets are going to control whether he stays on the team, contract extension, all that stuff. But, new season, new year under a new coordinator. We'll see how it all plays out. But I definitely do believe. I definitely think defense is right now the strength. It's been the strength of this team here for a while now. The Jets' defense has always been the strength. I feel like even you go back all the way back, it's always been the strength. Like, even if you go back to the 2010s and stuff, with, all those guys, Bark Scott and all them, Mo Lewis, it's always been the strength. You can even go back more recently here a little bit. You get Darrelle Revis. You got Antonio Cromartie. You go back to Muhammad Wilkerson, Sheldon Richardson, DeMario Davis. Right? There's always been... Jets have always... The Jets' defense, I feel like, has always been the strength, even throughout their history of their franchise. You even go back to the New York Sack Exchange with all those guys, right? The Jets, I feel like their defense, and it still is to this day, has been the strength. And that's going back all the way to the 80s, the 90s, more recently the 2010s, and then now, obviously, this season. That's how I've always felt it. I've always felt that the New York Jets, their defense has always been the strength of their team. And maybe that's because they've hired some defensive coaches a lot of times, but, we'll see. We'll see. I've always felt that way. Not that that's a bad thing, but that's just always how it is. Some teams are like that. Some teams are much better defensive teams. You all see how it goes. But anyway, so let's get into this quick article here. Marcus Maye, I know I kind of got off topic, not off topic, I was still talking about the Jets, but a bunch of other stuff. So Jets rumors, Marcus Maye's camp tables contract talks ahead of tag deadline. 2 days before the deadline for teams to work out long-term extensions with franchise-tagged players, Marcus Maye and the New York Jets are reportedly at odds over a new deal. Per NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, Maye's camp pulled their most recent offer after the Jets didn't respond to their proposal. Rappaport added negotiations between Maye and the Jets went south long before the franchise tag deadline in New York made an offer that had an average APY of 20% below even the tag amount for 2021. After the Jets used their one-year franchise tender on Maye to prevent him from becoming a free agent, the 28-year-old signed the deal for a guaranteed $10.6 million in 2021. Based on Rappaport's reporting, the average annual value of the New York's long-term offer to Maye would have been around $8.5 million per season. Per Spot Track, an $8.5 million average salary would rank 17th among all safeties in 2021 between Rashawn Jenkins of the Jacksonville Jaguars, $8.75 million, and Malcolm Jenkins of the New Orleans Saints, $8 million, which is actually a good amount. 17th among all safeties. It's actually a good amount. General Manager Joe Douglas told reporters in May that signing Maye to a long-term deal is still a priority for the organization. We've had productive texts back and forth with his agent. Douglas added, we're hoping to really dive into this now that the draft's over. Maye finished last season ranked 4th among all safeties by Pro Football Focus with an overall grade of 82.9. The Florida alum has spent his entire 4-year career in New York since being selected number 39 overall in the 2017 NFL Draft. He recorded a career-high 88 combined tackles and 2 sacks in 2021. So that's kind of that. As you can tell by the article, the New York Jets didn't put any big offer out there on the table, which, like I said, could just be kind of how they roll. Douglas has been like that throughout his career, which isn't bad. I mean, some GMs, I've always said this, some GMs, they go out and they just will, they're not overpay, but they'll just spend a ton of money. And they'll do whatever it takes. Some GMs like to build more through the draft, and they'll give you an extension, but they're not going to give you this massive extension. Joe Douglas is more of that GM. He's more that type of GM of, we're going to, we want you here on the team. We're not going to sign to this major deal to keep you on the team. All right, we'll give you a deal, we'll give you the money, but it's not going to be this huge 5-year, $100 million deal with massive amounts of money. That's an exaggeration, but you get what I'm coming from. Right? And he's going to earn this season $10.6 million. And if the Jets offered him that deal for $8.5, I don't know how long it was. I mean, even if the Jets just offer him, even if the Jets give him a 2-year deal, that's a low-risk move. Right? Even if you give him a 2-year deal and you say, all right, 2 years, boom. Maybe 2 years, $19 million. 8 or 9, I don't know, $18 million. $10 million at first, $8 million or $8 million, so $16 million, I don't know, $18 million, $9 million each year, something like that, or $20 million, I don't know, however you want to say. But if you even give him like a 2-year deal, it's a low-risk move. Because if it doesn't work out, okay, that 2 years is up, maybe you look to trade him in the second, whatever it is, it's a low risk. I feel like Marcus Maye might be looking more towards a long-term deal, like a 5, 6, 7-year deal. Or a 3, 4-year deal, 5-year deal, maybe 6, 7 is a little too much exaggeration, but a 3, 4, 5-year deal with a lot of money. And the Jets might want to have him, but I don't know if they're going to want to, they might want more of a shorter, maybe 2, 3-year deal rather than like a 5-year deal. Right? That's how I see it. But I'm going to tell you this. If Marcus Maye has another big season, next offseason, you got to throw the bank at him. You got to go all out for him. That's how I see it. But, we'll see how Marcus Maye plays this season. We'll see if he's a scheme fit. You just got to hope that he does still show up and play well. I'm not saying show up meaning, showing up to practices. He was at minicamp. But I'm not saying like he's going to hold out. I'm not saying that. But I am hoping that, all this contract stuff doesn't get in the way of him going out there and trying to help us win football games. I don't believe it will because, to be honest, last season there was some rumors on it, especially with Jamal Adams leaving. There were some rumors about, do the Jets go out and get Marcus Maye here now that Jamal Adams is gone, and it's obviously carried into this season. It looks like it's going to be throughout the season. But I think if you're the New York Jets and Marcus Maye, maybe you want to sit down and say, all right, hey, look, we'll get this, we weren't able to come to a deal, but let's make a deal with each other now. Like, the contract stuff's over. Let's focus on football, focus on the season, focus on the task at hand, and that's trying to win football games. Right? That's what I think the Jets got to do. Because all this it happens a lot. Where these teams go out and they just try to, these players, all they sometimes care about is their contracts. Not anything against Marcus Maye. I like Marcus Maye a lot, but I'm just saying the Jets, I think, might want to go out and say, hey, look, right? You're still on the team. Let's go out and focus on winning football games. And that's how I see it. I like Marcus Maye a lot. He's one of my favorite Jets. And I do hope that he does stay here. And I did want the Jets to sign him to a long-term deal, but it looks like the Jets are going to take this approach of let's be patient and let's see how this season plays out under the new scheme. And I understand where they're coming from. But at the end of the day, all right, it's over. The contract talks are now over. Let's focus up, get ready for training camp, and get ready for the season. And Marcus Maye just go out and give it 100% and do his best to try to help this team win football games. That's really all. That's all I'm asking for. Right? That's all I'm asking for. So we'll see how it all plays out. But yeah, training camp is a little bit. I mean, you even see A-Rob not expected to receive new contract before trade deadline. You see all this stuff, right? It's kind of that's how it is, right? Even Chris Godwin, right? Yeah, so teams have until 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Thursday to make their decision. Like I said, it's even, it's a lot of the other guys, right? I mean, sometimes these teams just want to see how it all goes, right? They just want to see how it all plays out. And that's how it kind of usually how it is. Let's see how the season plays out, and you'll play that out then. I mean, even there, Brandon Scherf will play on the tag again. Not expected to reach long-term deal by Thursday's deadline. Very good offensive lineman. He's going to play on the tag. A lot of guys tend to play on the franchise tag. So we'll see how it all plays out. But, yeah, looks like New York Jets safety Marcus Maye will be playing under the franchise tag for this season. And, like I mentioned, as long as he gives us production and goes out and helps us try to win football games, that's all that matters. So yeah, that's what I got for Marcus Maye and the New York Jets, and let's get into, even if you want to call it the New York Sports Update, kind of the Bucks-Suns preview in a way. Obviously, Suns-Bucks on tonight. We got Suns coming in this game up 2-1 in the series, Bucks coming in this game down 2-1 in the series. Bucks are 4.5-point favorites. The over-under for this game is 220.5. And this game goes on today, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. 62% actually, no, let's see. Who will win the game? 69% of people think the Milwaukee Bucks will win the game. Like I said, it's a big game for both teams. And I'm going to say it again. You could turn off the video at this point if you want to, if you're getting annoyed of what I'm saying. But it's a big game for both teams. It's a big game for both teams. And I've mentioned this about 10 times already the past 2 days, and I don't know why I'm saying it again, because you've already heard me say it, but it's the truth. It's a big game for both teams. With the Bucks and the Suns, and they're, trying to win this game for the Bucks rather than going down 3-1 and going back to Phoenix. And if you're the Suns, you want to win this game because then you don't want to find yourself Game 5. All of a sudden, if you lose that game, oh no, your back's against the wall. And I feel like the pressure would all of a sudden shift to Phoenix if the Bucks win tonight. And maybe that is completely a wrong statement, and you could completely disagree with me. But if the Phoenix Suns win tonight, or the Bucks rather, with the Milwaukee Bucks, if they win tonight, I think you've got to say 2-2 series tied. The Suns, the pressure automatically shifts to the Suns. Going into the series, obviously pressure on both teams. Suns won the first 2. They put the pressure right on the Bucks. And that's how quickly a series can change. If the Bucks win tonight, all of a sudden, the series shifts a little bit. The pressure shifts a little bit to the Suns. Because that almost makes Game 5 all right, if we don't win this game, we got to go back to Milwaukee or we're already 0-2 and they have to win that game. And either way, if the Bucks win tonight, either way, they're going to have to go back to Milwaukee for a Game 6 because you're going to need 6 games to decide it. You don't need 5. I feel like tonight's a big game for pressure. Because right now the pressure is still on the Bucks to win tonight's game. But if the Bucks win tonight's game, all of a sudden pressure goes to Phoenix. If the Suns win tonight's game, pressure stays on Milwaukee's side, and it makes that Game 5 a must-win back in Phoenix. And oh yeah, if you want any way of winning the series, you're going to have a Game 7 in Phoenix. So the pressure stays on the Bucks. But the pressure could shift tonight if the Bucks win. Personally, I have said Suns in 5 or 6 games all along. The Bucks have played very well so far at home. They looked very good in that last game. But if you had to ask me, I'm going to go out and say, I don't really know if this is going out on a limb, but I am going to go out and say that the Suns will win this game. And then go up 3-1 in the series, and I think they take it either Game 5 or Game 6. That's how I see it. And I think this series heavily is in the favorites of the Suns. And not just because they are the favorite, but because they are they got home court advantage. Right? So they got the home court advantage. They got the advantage really all around. And that's how I kind of see it. Maybe you can disagree, but that's how I see it. So, I think Suns win. And I think they put the pressure really on the Bucks after tonight's game. And I think this could be a good game tonight. Obviously, 9 p.m. Eastern time on ABC. And obviously, no fantasy baseball or any of that. But that's how I see it. I think, a lot of people might disagree with me and say, oh, well, the Bucks are going to win tonight. They got all the momentum. The Bucks won 1 game. I wouldn't say the momentum has completely shifted to the Bucks side just because they won 1 game. 1 game could change the outcome of a series, could change an outcome of anything, but it's 1 game. It's not like it's not like they won 2 straight games and oh my god, or 3 straight games and oh my gosh, all of a sudden the Suns are playing an elimination game. They won 1 game. And I get it, they're home, and the Bucks have been a good home team. Obviously the Bucks took both from Brooklyn. We'll see how it all plays out, but if you're the Bucks here, you've got to you got to find a way to win tonight because you cannot go down 3-1 going back to Phoenix. That's the last thing you want. Down 3-1 going back to Phoenix, and nothing against the Bucks, but they've gotten a lot of inconsistent play from some of their guys. You get a good game from Chris Middleton, then you get a really bad game. You get a good game, then you get a really bad game. So what are you going to get if you lose tonight? What are you going to get out of Chris Middleton? What are you going to get out of the rest of the team? You know what you're going to get out of Giannis. He's been very good in the first 3 games of the series, especially game 1 when he was playing with an injury, although he said he felt great. But I don't know how much you want to believe that. Now I feel like he's back to fine. But what are you going to get out of the other guys outside of Giannis? And that's one of the big questions. That's been the question this entire postseason for the Bucks. Is what are you going to get outside of Giannis? Is Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, are any of them going to step up and go for a big game? Or are they going to be terrible and you're going to need Giannis to go out and, help you win the game scoring 45 points or 42 points again? That's been one of the big questions, and I think it still is a question, even though they won Game 3. And it's a big game tonight. Because the last thing you want if you're the Milwaukee Bucks is to have to go back to Phoenix for Game 5 down 3-1. Because I think we can both agree both these teams are much better at home. And you could say that about almost any MLB. You could say that about any sport team. Any league. I think every team feels more comfortable, feels better at home. But especially this series. Like, the Suns are so much better at home and the Bucks are so much better. We saw it. The Bucks against the Nets. They won both at home. They won all their games at home. Right? They won all their games at home. I mean, they took advantage at home. They got the job done at home. They looked lost on the road, and they got the job done at home. And that's how this series is going. They looked lost in games 1 and 2, go back home, and all of a sudden they make the Phoenix Suns look lost. And I don't want to say if the Phoenix Suns are that bad on the road, because let's be honest, the Suns did beat the Clippers on the road, and they won that series on the road. So I don't know if we want to say the Suns aren't good on the road. And the Bucks did, to be all fairness, but the Bucks, I feel like, are a much better home team when they're on the road than they're on the road. Like, they look lost in games 1 and 2, and we're sitting here like, wow, this series really looks like this is going to be the Phoenix Suns. And all of a sudden, the Bucks come out and win by 20 in Game 3. So we'll see how the game goes tonight. Obviously, a big game tonight. Suns, Bucks, Yankees, Mets, rest of the MLB, day off today. Pretty much the rest of the MLB also has the day off tomorrow outside of the Yankees and the Red Sox, who will play tomorrow. And, that will do it for the podcast. As always, hope you enjoyed it. A very long podcast here today. Obviously, no fantasy baseball or anything like that. Obviously, it's the All-Star break, so nothing really going on there. Baseball's taking a little bit of a break. And, glad to get some football talk in here today with the New York Jets and stuff like that. So, with all that being said, that will do it for the podcast here today. Hopefully, you all enjoyed it. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.